Please welcome Mr. Peter Carlsson from CEO of Travellink. Okay, so like I said before about the hot coals, rumor has it that you once made your employees walk on hot coals as a reward. That doesn't seem like a reward to me, so can you explain why you guys did that?
Yeah, you know, e-marketers, they need to be on their toes, right? They need to be on the move. So yeah. That's right, we had a kickoff and it was in the middle of the winter, the snow was falling and the guys walked on burning coal. And we had a visitor from UK, he just wondered what kind of tribe this was, but it was a Travellink tribe, so it was good.
Was it a success? Did your employees like it? Did they feel like it was a reward?
I think absolutely. It's. I mean, it was of course a joke. It's absolutely feasible. You know, you should. The only thing you shouldn't do is to, if you get a mobile phone call while walking, you shouldn't stop and answer. Otherwise, it worked, and it makes the team tighter, right?
Okay, yeah.
So you had 7 difficult years where you were not profitable. What was the winning recipe for turning it around?
I think we started our business in the middle of the heat of internet the first time, 2000, and you know it was a huge investment for a very rapid growth, and as many companies at that time, it didn't take off as quickly as our original plans. But what I think it's very obvious that even if it were tough times, it was 9/11 when we launched, so it was not the best timing in the world.
Yeah.
Internet and travel has really shown to be a perfect match. So so I think after the first years, it was just the volumes coming in, and since then it has grown hugely.
So if you were to break your business up into sections, how much of your business is private and how much is business customers?
So we were very early with also running a business travel. So we started both business and leisure year 2000. Now it's business travel is roughly 30% of our business, and leisure is 70%. And corporate is now growing, but the first to take off was leisure. The wallet for the private person seems more valuable than for the company.
Okay.
Right?
And how much of it is online?
So for leisure, we have 98% online. It's all online.
Okay, wow.
For corporate, we have 700 customers across the Nordics, and here it's a little bit different. 25% is still with the call center for urgent matters or whatever, but we are very high on online adoption rate on the corporate side with 75% versus maybe the industry in general around 20%. So we are doing really great on corporate also.
Okay. Fantastic.
Well, we're really excited to hear what you're going to say. So good luck. The stage is yours.
Thank you. So yes, I've been with the travel industry for 20 years, and actually I was part of the snowball effect. It's difficult to admit, but we had a videotex running in the first company where I joined, where we sold travel. But since 15 years back, I've been part of Travellink when it was founded. I will talk to you today about 4 things: the success of internet and travel, but also how it has changed at least our organization during the 15 years in the marketing organization and e-commerce. And also I will talk about the products that can only appear on the internet, and finally mobile. So 20 minutes, so I better get started. The clock is not rolling. That's good. So actually one of the largest industry in the world has totally been revolutionized by online. You can see that it's a $1,200 billion business, the travel industry across the world. And in a little bit more than 15 years, it has now become 30%, 33%, 1/3 of the value of travel sold is sold online. And what is also quite astonishing is it started in the US, as usual, but now Europe has grown larger. So 35% of all online travel is from the Europe market. So Europe and US are the most mature markets. We are here around 50% in Europe online. So it's still the emerging markets that are lower, and US is at the same level. The emerging markets is extremely interesting with Asia, India, Russia, China coming and growing at 20-25% a year. As usually in Europe, Scandinavia is extremely advanced. So we have over 60% online in travel. And you can also see that, which surprised maybe a little bit, that Eastern Europe, like Hungary and Poland, are also quite advanced. So, why the success of internet and travel? I think it's what has happened in the market in general. We have two main drivers. It's the airlines, the air sales, and the hotel sales. And for the airline industry, it's hyper competition, as you all know. So first it started with the network carrier and the deregulation of prices. It was stately owned carriers. It opened up for competition, and the network carriers started to fight. But what really meant a lot was when Sinead and the low-cost carrier as Ryanair, EasyJet, and Norwegian here started to move. And the prices went all the way down to really, really low prices. And on the hotel side, it's a little bit different story. Here it's a very fragmented market. But here, the first OTAs were very strong in consolidating. So there are huge bed banks that has contracted hundreds of thousands of hotels and consolidated for internet sales. So what does it then mean for the consumer? It means affordable prices on travel. And with affordable, I'm underestimating. When I went to Arlanda this morning, I saw the ads on the way to the airport. It said 470. And I said, whoops, Norwegian have increased their prices. It used to say 290 Swedish crowns. But it was the taxi, the Stockholm taxi, that advertised 470. And this is the true story. I mean, it's often cheaper to go to Barcelona and to go to the airport with a taxi. It's a spot market. Its prices vary. First, it was per week, then it was per day, now it's per hour. So it's really, really a market where availability of the prices is key. And of course, this is perfect match for internet. And it has changed travel pattern. So this is, of course, for the leisure travel, but the leisure travel has really increased. Short trips, short stays, city breaks, flexible in time, you know, you prolong a weekend, take one day more. And now you go on trips many times a year versus previously 1 or 2. So it's a huge shift during the years. And when internet and travel came, of course, the key message from the provider were, okay, this is provider direct sales. So what will happen? Will the travel agency still have a role? We are an online travel agency, and we were born online. Well, the business logic is exactly as it has been in the industry all over time. It's the customer wants a broad choice of products. So we market 700 different airlines. We have 165,000 hotel premises across the world. So this is, of course, very different to go to the provider direct. So the online travel agency business has really succeeded, and maybe also being on the toes, making technology work even better than the airlines. So today, roughly 65% of business comes from provider direct, but still a huge chunk, 1/3, a little bit more, come from the online travel agency. So the big guys that has grown with this situation is, you might be familiar with the with the companies Expedia and Priceline. Priceline now passed Expedia as the world's largest OTA in November. They run businesses of $50 billion a year in turnover. And in the emerging market, you have Ctrip in China, you have Make My Trip in India, and they are growing rapidly. Expedia and Priceline, they come from the hotel side more than air. But in Europe, what's happening in Europe? So Travellink, which is the smallest, I must admit, joined forces 3 years ago with Opodo, with eDreams, and with Go Voyage, having very good coverage in Europe. So we are strong in the Nordics, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Poland also. And eDreams strong in Southern Europe, Go Voyage in France, Opodo in Germany, and UK. So we have a fantastic coverage of the European market. We have, since we joined together 3 years ago, then we were expanded to 43 markets across the globe. And what's interesting about internet and travel is when I listen to Jabong and the logistic to deliver a product here, as you can understand, there is no physical product to deliver. So we do not have that kind of problem in the travel industry. So we can grow very fast into new markets. 5 years ago, Expedia had 78% of their sales in US, and now they are 50-50 US and rest of the world. So this is exactly the strategy that we are trying to apply now to move quickly into the strongly growing market. The latest market we opened up was Russia during the autumn, which is a fantastic market. So in all, we have 15 million passengers a year, and that's travel performed, so to say. And it's a return ticket, so if you count in air seats, it's 30 million air seats sold a year. So it's huge, huge business from, of course, the early days when the numbers were red and we were counting booking by 1 and 2 and 3. So it's a huge change, and it will continue. The prediction is that this will continue to be a double-digit growth the coming 3 years, according to Focusrite, and this is exactly what we see. But coming into the second subject, and that is, how is time? There's no time here. 10 minutes already, okay. This is very quick then. Marketing, how has it changed marketing? When we started,
Nätet, ett billigt sätt att resa på. Titta in på travellink.se, resor på nätet.
You could say that it looks a little bit like SF-arkivet. It's 2004 or something. At that time, we needed to push people to understand that they needed to go to internet to find the best travel. What we see now is, of course, that what it's all about in marketing is to get your voice heard on the internet in the enormous competition. So here is, of course, very different skill sets on the marketing organization when we started and where we are at now. And the main differences are, first of all, you need a really, really analytic skill set. So the marketeers starts to get more and more, how do you say, with an analytic background. You also have to keep the different marketing channels together because it's all interacting with each other. And still, you need to have the feeling and the understanding for the customer to which you deliver. So what has happened within our organization is basically that we have the third generation of marketing department now with an enormously much more analytic skill set. And within marketing also having the combination of revenue and product management. So they need to sit very tightly together. Of course, the price that we put on the ticket affects very much the conversion rate for SEM and so on. Our revenue manager, we recruited from the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm as a researcher in mathematics. He has a PhD in mathematics. Just to give an example on that, this is really what's necessary now in the skill set of the marketeers. Also, tools and data mining extremely important. You are flooded with data on tracking, on retargeting, on competition comparison. So the guy who is on top of the data is really the winner going forward. So this has changed our organization, but you know, let Harrison Ford show. His point of view. It's not only about tools, right? So what happens and what is the risk is that you get lost in data. What you really need to do is, of course, to manage your product and your uniqueness in products. So our strength in Odidio Group is air. We are the largest seller of air in the world. But this is also the driving force to get customers to come into our shop. A killer product that the OTAs have today is dynamic packaging. And that is, you see here, 40% saving on air plus flight. When we do revenue management on flight, we're talking about 1 krona, 10 euro cent, but here is suddenly 40% reduction in price. How come is that? Well, the key point, packages, we sell 70% Europe. 70% of our customers need an hotel on the destination. If they buy the hotel and the flight together, there is a special price because we can combine the product as an opaque price. The different components are not shown. When we do this, the providers of the hotel or the airline can put a lower price because it will not erode the price in the market. And this happened around 40–50% of all packages we sell is with a discounted price. And you can imagine that here is a huge amount of savings to do. But our challenge is that this is not the normal behavior of the consumer when he booked his travel. When we started this 6 years ago, the normal behavior of the consumer is first you book your flight, you secure the low price, you go home, you discuss the hotel because the hotel is very important for your stay. So the hotel as such is often something that gives a concern when booking, and it can hit our conversion rate. So in putting this to the market, we have really had to be very, very careful in the upsell and the presentation to the customer to get it right. And now it's working extremely good, and 25% of our revenues comes from this kind of packages. And you can imagine the tour operator business in the Nordics, meaning charter, is 4 million passengers a year, and it has been for the last 10 years. There has been no growth at all. When it comes to Southern Europe, city breaks, nothing can challenge the 165,000 hotels or the 700 airlines and combine them in this way. But the packages do not exist more than the second that you make the choice. So nothing is pre-packaged. We sell travel to 2,000 different destinations on a year. So you can imagine that this is not something that you can normally negotiate as a pre-packaged tour operator. So that's the unique product only possible to realize on the internet. Finally, mobile. So I think we performed extremely well in all the parts, but I must admit that this is an opportunity, but it's also really, really a huge challenge. The 4 Nordic countries are all within the top 10 when it comes to smartphone penetration. So here we have a huge number of searches over in the mobile world. Smartphone, which I would say is the true mobile, but of course also tablets growing strongly and desktop. And there's two things about this, and the two things are the opportunity of actually following our travelers even more during the trip with our services and our possibility to upsell. Our strength so far has been, of course, in the research process, in the purchase process, but we have not, in the desktop world, followed the customer on the trip. This, of course, enables by the mobility. The other thing is the cross-device kind of situation that occur. So what normally happens now is, of course, that our customers sitting on the train in the morning on the way to the work and do the research on the smartphone, coming home, sitting by the TV and look at the laptop. Then for the final decision, purchase on the desktop. And it all needs to fit together. And I must say that this has been a challenge for us, and also in the early presentation there is the discussion about which kind of technology should we apply. Are we going in the right direction, or are we going in the wrong direction? Presently we have a mobile-enabled web for the smartphones. And of course, of your choice, you can use it on the tablet. And on the desktop we have the normal presentation. But the dream world is, of course, the apps which would create the loyalty. But we're growing so strongly, so we recruit very many new customers. So we could not restrict our services, of course, to an application being downloaded. It's also true that for the different marketing channels, we need to be transparent. Let's say that the customer goes on a price comparison site with the mobile web. You need, of course, to be able to receive him on the mobile web. So this is where we have started. But I know there's really good successes with apps and the loyalty that it creates to the customers. We have a lot to do within this field, but we are have a recent reasonable presence, I would say. But the change is so rapid. So if you look at Google figures now, there is no increase at all in searches, in the travel sector at least, when it comes to the desktop. But you have like a 50% increase year on year when it comes to the smartphones, and a 30% increase when it comes to the tablets. For me, tablets is maybe not the key important thing. It's the smartphone and the really true mobility. So today, it's 26% of all searches are coming through the smartphones. And the devices, as you all know, they are shrinking and getting bigger. The latest iPhone gets bigger, the tablets get smaller. So we have to be able to have a technology that covers this and give a good customer experience. When we went online with the internet, we said that it must be exactly the same customer experience when it comes to offering on the net versus going to the call center. Now, we are very, very concerned about that we need to have exactly the same offering in the different technical channels when it comes to the mobility. So, that was the 4 items that I intended to talk about today. As a summary, online and travel will continue to grow, and it's really, really a huge, opportunity in the emerging markets. When it comes to the coal-walking e-marketing department, they will continue to change in a very rapid way. And when it comes to the product offering, you have to stick to your core offering, and I think our strength is air, our strength is dynamic packaging, and here we really need to keep the technology and keep the advantage towards our competitor. And lastly, when it comes to mobile, I will stay here for this afternoon and tomorrow, so I hope that someone of you give me better answers, because we are a little bit in the shade here where we should go next step. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Karsten, do we have any questions on Twitter?
Yes, we have some interesting questions.
For you, Mr. Peter Carlsson.
Yes, one question was from Malena Holmberg at News about conversion rates on mobile. Mobile is important. How good is the conversion?
So today we have 20% of our sales is from mobile devices, but that includes tablets. So it's 50-50 smartphone versus tablets. And on the smartphone, we do not have the same conversion rate on that we have on the desktop.
Yeah, and tablets also quite higher because the search volume was quite lower on tablets compared to phones, right?
Yes, exactly. That's true.
Another question is, which a couple of people observed, was that only 2/3, or only like not all flights are booked online. Less than half are booked online, but it seems like a very good deal to book flights online. Why isn't everybody using the internet?
That's a good question. I can't answer that. I would. No, I think it's still. I think with the younger generation, for sure, there is no option, for sure. So it's more that we still have a very strong, when it comes to travel, a very strong older generation that have time and money to spend. There are two categories of that. The ones that I know, even if they are 50, 60, 70, are very advanced on the net, actually. So I'm still a little bit surprised. But for the younger generation, we know way back for sure. So in the Nordics, we are at 62, so it's quite high.
One last, and that's from Marius Lilleid. Airbnb. I mean, you talk about flights, you talk about hotels. How is Airbnb? Has it started to affect it?
It has not affected our sales, but I must say that Airbnb is a fantastic concept, and I think he will come tomorrow, right? And Airbnb being very, how do you say, very cost efficient for sure, but also I like the concept of interacting with your hostess in the different parts. So it's a little bit another story. It's an enormous success story on the internet, and we will probably hear tomorrow. But it's not interfering with our sales.
And you haven't reached a point where it's like you can book hotels or Airbnb. You haven't made that yet.
No, but I actually would very much like to distribute Airbnb, because what we want to distribute is what the customer wants. My son went couch surfing. That's taking it one step longer when he was in US for 2 months. But this will, of course, also change the lodging industry.
Thank you.
Peter, thank you so much. We all really enjoyed your presentation. It was so fantastic to hear from the travel industry. So thank you so much. Everybody, please give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.